War has always been a part of humanity. From sharpened stones to iron swords, from crossbows to cannons, men have always sought ways to wield greater power over their enemies. But in the 20th century, a new weapon was born, not forged in fire, but pulled from the very fabric of the universe itself. It was not merely a tool of war, it was a force capable of rewriting civilization in an instant. And its birth would forever divide history into two ages, before the bomb and after. The story begins in the shadows of the Second World War, when whispers of a terrifying possibility reached American ears. Intelligence reports suggested that Nazi Germany, armed with the brilliance of physicists like Werner Heisenberg, might be working on a superweapon. Something unlike any artillery, tank, or airplane the world had ever seen. Albert Einstein himself, though a pacifist, was so alarmed that he co-signed a letter to President Roosevelt in 1939 warning of the potential. His words carried weight. Within months, the seeds of what would become the Manhattan Project were sown. What followed was one of the most secretive and ambitious undertakings in human history. A sprawling network of laboratories and facilities spread across the United States, Oak Ridge, Hanford, Los Alamos, each cloaked in secrecy, each humming with activity. Tens of thousands worked on the project, many unaware of its ultimate purpose. They thought they were building engines, refining metals, or simply following blueprints. In truth, they were building the key to harnessing the atom. At the heart of it all was Los Alamos, the desert laboratory in New Mexico where the world's greatest scientific minds gathered under one roof. J. Robert Oppenheimer, a man of unmatched intellect and equally unmatched moral conflict, became the project's director. Alongside him were Nobel laureates and young geniuses, men who had once debated equations in lecture halls now finding themselves debating how to unleash forces once reserved for stars. It was here that science and war collided. The goal was clear beat Germany to the bomb. Yet the deeper these scientists delved into the atom, the more they realized the scale of what they were about to unleash. Fission was not merely splitting atoms, it was splitting reality itself. A chain reaction, once triggered, would release energy so vast that one bomb could equal the power of thousands of conventional explosives. Still, fear drove them forward. Germany surrendered in May 1945 before ever producing such a weapon, but by then, the project was too far along to stop. Billions had been spent, the machinery was built, the bomb was ready. July 16, 1945, the Jornada del Muerto Desert in New Mexico, codenamed Trinity. At 5:29 a.m., the sky was torn apart. A blinding light erupted, brighter than the sun, followed by a mushroom cloud climbing 40,000 feet into the heavens. The blast was felt 100 miles away. Soldiers shielded their eyes yet still saw through their bones. One witness described it as the radiance of 1,000 suns. Oppenheimer, shaken to his core, recalled a line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." He knew in that moment humanity had crossed a line it could never retreat from. But Trinity was only the beginning. Weeks later, two bombs were readied, one named Little Boy, the other Fat Man. Their targets were not empty deserts but living cities. On August 6, 1945, Hiroshima became the first victim. In a blinding flash, the city ceased to exist. Tens of thousands of lives extinguished in an instant, their shadows burned into walls, their cries silenced before they could even reach the air. The world stood stunned. Japan surrendered within days, ending the Second World War. To many, the bombs had saved lives, preventing a bloody invasion of Japan that could have cost millions. To others, it was a moral catastrophe, a demonstration of power so excessive it scarred humanity's conscience forever. Either way, there was no denying the nuclear age had been born. But what few outside the circles of power knew was that this was only the surface. Beneath the official narrative of victory, a darker story simmered. Reports suggested Japan had been nearing surrender even before the bombs were dropped. Some historians argue the real target was not Japan, but the Soviet Union, a warning shot to show America's newfound dominance. Stalin certainly received the message. Within years, the USSR detonated its own bomb, and the race for nuclear supremacy began. The Cold War was unlike any conflict before it. Armies still clashed in proxy wars, but the true battle was waged in silos, submarines, and laboratories. Both the United States and the Soviet Union stockpiled weapons by the thousands, enough to obliterate the Earth many times over. This was not a war for victory. It was a war of survival, a deadly standoff built on the chilling logic of mutually assured destruction. If one side launched, the other would respond, and civilization itself would burn in nuclear fire. What the public never knew were the countless close calls. In 1962, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the world came closer to annihilation than ever before. For 13 days, nuclear war hung by a thread. A Soviet submarine commander, believing war had already begun, prepared to launch a nuclear torpedo, only to be stopped at the last moment by one officer who refused to authorize it. In 1983, a Soviet early warning system mistakenly detected incoming American missiles. It was only the skepticism of one man, Stanislav Petrov, that prevented a retaliatory strike. Humanity has survived time and again, not through strategy or design, but through luck and the hesitation of individuals faced with unthinkable choices. And yet, the bomb was never used again. Its destructive power made it paradoxically untouchable. Generals dreamed of wielding it, politicians threatened it, scientists regretted it, but no leader dared to cross the line a second time. Nuclear weapons became both the deadliest invention in human history and, in a twisted way, the guardians of peace. Nations realized that wars between nuclear powers were no longer winnable, they were suicidal. The world settled into an uneasy balance, one where peace was not built on trust, but on the terror of mutual destruction. Even today, long after the Cold War, thousands of warheads remain armed and ready. The danger hasn't vanished, it's only grown quieter. Hidden in silos, carried by submarines beneath the sea, and mounted on missiles that can reach across continents in minutes, they wait in silence. Accidents have occurred, near misses have happened, yet somehow the world has avoided repeating Hiroshima. Perhaps it's fear, perhaps it's wisdom, perhaps it's sheer luck. The nuclear age was born in fire, forged for war, but its legacy is far more complicated. It ended a global conflict, prevented others, haunted humanity with guilt, and forced nations to face their own capacity for destruction. And still, the question remains unanswered. Are these weapons humanity's ultimate invention or its greatest mistake? Because if the day ever comes when the silence breaks, when the button is pressed, and the fire is unleashed again, it won't just end a war. It could end everything. So we live under the shadow of the mushroom cloud, knowing that the dawn of the nuclear age was also the dawn of a question humanity has yet to answer. Can we control the fire we once pulled from the heart of the atom, or will it one day consume us all? And that, perhaps, is the most haunting truth of all. If you found this story powerful, shocking, or thought-provoking, make sure to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more untold history and chilling stories that reveal the hidden truths behind our world. Because this is just the beginning.